Have you ever looked at a message you just sent and immediately felt a sinking, hollow feeling in your chest? Not because you said anything wrong, but because you know, deep down, you are giving entirely too much to someone who is giving you barely anything in return. You tell yourself you are just being a good person. You tell yourself you are just being patient and kind. But underneath that polite smile is a quiet, heavy exhaustion. You are tired of always being the reliable one. You are so deeply tired of reading into mixed signals, analyzing delayed texts, and convincing yourself that if you just show up one more time, if you just try a little harder, they will finally see your worth. But they don't. And somehow that realization doesn't make you walk away. It only makes you try harder. We casually call this falling into the nice guy or good friend trap. But it is not just a quirky personality trait. It is a specific, deeply ingrained psychological loop where your fundamental need to be valued collides perfectly with someone else's inconsistency. You become trapped in an exhausting cycle of over-accommodating and ignoring blazing red flags. You do this because at some point, you convince yourself that love and respect are things you must earn through self-sacrifice. You justify their poor behavior, their flakiness, their sudden distance, because you are focused on their potential rather than their reality. You think, if I am just soft enough, they will change. But the truth is, you are caught in a dynamic psychologists call intermittent reinforcement. And it is one of the hardest emotional habits to break because it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like hope. Let me tell you about a time this dynamic became painfully clear to me. For a very long time, my default response to anyone asking for something was always yes. I thought my complete lack of boundaries made me indispensable. There was someone in my life I cared about deeply, a person who always seemed to be in the middle of a crisis. One evening, they called me, panicked and overwhelmed, needing help moving out of their apartment at the last minute. I didn't hesitate. I canceled my own plans to rest, drove across town, and spent the entire night packing up their life. I taped boxes, wrapped dishes, and carried heavy furniture down 3 flights of stairs in the dead of night. By the time I left, the sun was coming up. I was physically and emotionally drained, but I felt this quiet, warm sense of pride. I had proven my loyalty. I went home, slept for a few fragmented hours, and woke up expecting a text. Maybe a simple thank you. Instead, the screen was blank. But when I opened social media, I saw they had just posted a story. They were out at a sunny brunch with a completely different group of friends, laughing and clinking glasses, looking utterly carefree. I sat in my dark bedroom, staring at the glowing screen, feeling a sickening ache in my stomach. I had given them my entire night, and I wasn't even worth a passing thought the next day. I felt invisible. But here is the darkest part of that story. 3 days later, they finally texted me. Just a simple, casual message saying they missed me and that I was the best. And instantly, all of my resentment vanished. I smiled. I typed out a reply immediately. I was right back on the hook. That is what this trap actually looks like in real time. It is not just doing nice favors. It is an active, ongoing suppression of your own reality. You swallow your perfectly valid frustration, bury your justified anger, and tell yourself you are taking the high road. But really, you are abandoning yourself to keep the peace. You become an emotional shock absorber for someone else's erratic life. You take all the impact and damage just so their ride feels smooth. And the worst part is, you do it silently. Why do we stay fiercely attached to people who treat us like a convenient option? Imagine sitting in front of a slot machine. If you put a coin in and lose every time, you walk away. If you win the jackpot every time, it loses its thrill. But if you win just often enough, randomly and unpredictably, you sit at that machine until you have nothing left. Relationships with red flags operate the exact same way. They give you a week of beautiful attention, followed by 2 weeks of silence. They share a vulnerable conversation late at night, then act like strangers the next morning. Your brain becomes chemically addicted to this unpredictability. Every time they pull away, your cortisol spikes. When they finally give you a crumb of validation, your brain releases a massive hit of dopamine. You confuse chemical relief with love. You believe the anxiety is passion. Underneath that addiction to the highs and lows is a much quieter, older fear. It is the core belief that you are inherently not enough, exactly as you are. Deep down, you carry a silent conviction that your natural self is unlovable, and so you must pay rent for the space you occupy in people's lives. You pay that rent by being useful, by being overly accommodating, by being the one who never complains. If you stop saying yes, the terrifying fear is that they will realize you have no other intrinsic value, and they will walk away. You fall in love with their potential because it distracts you from your own inner emptiness. You see this pattern in agonizing everyday moments. It happens when you spend 10 minutes drafting a 2-sentence text. You delete it, soften the punctuation, and add an emoji just to ensure you don't sound needy. You send it, they take 2 days to reply with a one-word answer, and instead of recognizing their disrespect, you wonder what you did wrong. You see it at work or in friendships. You listen to a friend complain about their partner for 3 hours. But the moment you are having a terrible day and need someone to hold space for you, they are suddenly incredibly busy. And instead of getting angry, you swallow it, smile, and say you totally understand. If you recognize yourself in these words, if you feel a sudden wave of shame, I need you to pause. Drop your shoulders. There is nothing fundamentally broken about you. You are not stupid for falling for red flags or pathetic for being overly nice. You are simply a person with a profound capacity for empathy. You likely learned very early in life that your needs were an inconvenience. You learned to constantly read the room and adjust your personality to keep everyone else comfortable. That is a survival skill. It kept you emotionally safe, and it makes complete sense why you adopted it. But you are not in danger anymore. The survival skill that kept you safe in the past is the exact thing keeping you starved of genuine connection today. How do we step away from the machine? It starts by radically shifting your focus from their potential to their reality. You have to establish a minimum standard of behavior. A minimum standard means accepting people exactly as they are acting right now, today. If someone is consistently hot and cold, that is their reality. Stop dating or befriending the imaginary, healed version of them that lives only in your head. When they show you a glaring red flag, do not write a complex psychological backstory to excuse their behavior. Just observe the action. Say to yourself out loud, this is how they treat people. Second, actively recognize the slot machine feeling in your body. When you feel that sharp spike of anxiety followed by a desperate relief because they finally gave you attention, do not call it romance. Name it for what it truly is, which is emotional dysregulation. When you feel that chaotic pull, step back. Remind yourself that true, healthy connection does not feel like a roller coaster. It feels like a calm, steady river. It is predictable. It is boring in the absolute best possible way. Finally, we have to talk about saying no. For a recovering people pleaser, saying no feels like an act of emotional violence. You worry they will hate you or think you are selfish. But you can set a firm boundary without being aggressive and without over-explaining. You can use a short, clear sentence combined with a realistic alternative. The next time someone asks for a massive favor that will drain you, simply say, I don't have the capacity to do the whole weekend, but I can help for an hour on Tuesday. Or, I can't take this on right now, but I am cheering for you. Your heart will race the first time you do it. You will want to apologize. Let the feeling wash over you, but do not change your answer. You will survive. When I finally started saying no, I lost a few people. The friend who I helped move gradually stopped calling when they realized I was no longer a free resource. And yes, it hurt. But the empty space they left behind eventually allowed people to enter my life who actually wanted to be there for me, not just for what I could do for them. You do not have to perform to be loved. You do not have to be the ultimate caregiver to earn your right to exist. Your energy is sacred. It is time to stop pouring your exhausted heart into cups with holes in the bottom, hoping they will overflow. Step away from the machine. Take your coins back. It is okay to finally walk out the door and choose yourself.